stateside, Donald Trump, has picked Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as his health secretary, calling him unbelievable. Of course, Mr. Kennedy has previously been a little sceptic over things like vaccines and a few other bits and pieces. It's the latest in a string of controversial nominations, including Fox News contributor Peter Hegseth as Defense Secretary and the scandal-plagued Florida Republican Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. Billionaires Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are also co-lead in a new department for government efficiency. Let's speak with Jason Meister, former Trump Advisory Board member. Jason, good afternoon to you.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, sir. Nice to have you with us. So if you were marking Donald Trump's homework here on his appointments, what grade are you giving him so far?
I would give him an A++. Look, I think if the woke left didn't want Pete Hegseth to be Secretary of Defense, then they probably shouldn't have made a DEI military. If they didn't want Matt Gaetz as the Attorney General of the United States of America, perhaps they shouldn't have lied about Russia collusion for 5 years. If they didn't want Tulsi Gabbard to be the head of national intelligence, well, maybe they shouldn't have signed a fraudulent letter stating that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. And if they didn't want RFK Jr. to be the Secretary of Human Health Services, well, maybe they shouldn't have covered up the origins of COVID. So now they could sit in the corner with a dunce hat on and they could shut up.
I love the way you kept the classroom metaphor going there on that final point. The dunce hat is being worn and there are people clearly crying their wokey tears into their breakfast bowls this morning. Is it possible, though, just to put my alternative hat on this one for the purpose of this conversation, Jason, is it possible to believe both things? To say, yeah, all of those people, they were clearly lunatics when they were peddling their sort of bizarre left-wing mythology about people and Russia and God knows what else. But actually, there are some appointments here that, you know, are disagreeable to some. Having your top legal man in place while there are allegations of a fairly grubby nature against him. He might be cleared of all of that, by the way, then give him the job. But in the meantime, that's a bad look.
I don't think so. I think if we've learned anything over the last 8 years, it's not to trust the media narrative. And I think the media narrative on Matt Gaetz, the media narrative on RFK Jr., they've all been debunked. Look, RFK Jr. isn't anti-vax, which is what the media is telling us.
Yep.
He's saying his whole family is vaccinated. He's vaccinated. He's saying we need to start to test these vaccines. We're over-vaccinated our children. Look, my great-grandparents didn't have the kinds of health issues that we're dealing with in America today. Our food supply is clearly poisoned. I think that there's very important things that people like RFK Jr. are saying, and I think it's resonating with suburban mothers across this country who have children, who have, that have issues with their health, and that these issues are issues that are new issues. And why are these issues coming up? Yeah. Are we over-vaccinating our kids? These are questions that we should be asking as everyday Americans.
Indeed. And, of course, let's extend that as well. I mean, Big Pharma and the like, absolutely have questions to answer. And I think Mr. Kennedy is the man to throw those questions in their direction. The food industry as well. I'm pretty sure that the processed food argument in the United States is as alive and well as it is over here. I mean, those guys have got away with stuff for years and nobody really stepping in and saying, hang on, you wouldn't give kids a packet of cigarettes. Why would you give them a meal that is so ultra processed that it's probably rotting your kidneys by the time you go to bed at night? But that's been given a free pass. Do you think this is the kind of stuff he's going to look at?
I do. I think we're on the front end in general of one of the most transformational administrations in history. Look, we have the House, we have the Senate, we have the White House, we have the Supreme Court. They have nothing left. For the next 2 years, the Democrats cannot do anything. They have zero power. Look, the Republican Party and Donald Trump's team and his administration have to perform. If they don't perform in 2 years, the voters will come out and they will vote against the agenda. But for now, I think it's time to get behind this administration. Clearly, if you looked at the exit polls, nearly 70% of the American people thought this country was headed in the wrong direction. Look, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were a disaster. They ran on building back better. Nothing has been built back or better And I think that the American people have given a mandate, a sweeping mandate to Donald Trump. And so he's going to assemble his team. I think it's time to get behind his team and hope that we can make this country great again.
I think you're absolutely spot on, Jason, in that comment. Look, if it doesn't work and it goes wrong, then they will all pay the price. They'll be voted out of office, and Mr. Trump's star will fall along with his team as well. The last time I looked, that's how a democracy works, right?
Precisely. Look, the will of the people have spoken. The majority of this country clearly gave Donald Trump a mandate. He's assembling an unbelievable team. I think Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, head of the Department of Government Efficiency, is an incredible placement. I think their minds, their successes as business people, they're going to bring business acumen to government. And government has tremendous waste. Look, we spend $2 trillion a year, more than we take in. If any business in this country ran itself the way that the U.S. government did, it would be absolutely bankrupt, and it would be a failed business. So I think that we need to give these people, these unbelievable successful business people, a little bit of a chance.
We've kind of, and I guess this is a Western thing as well as an American thing. It's a British thing as well. This kind of status quo thing that's just been given a free rein. This is how we do it. We've got this bullet point list. We kind of follow it, and and we run the system this way. Don't want anybody to challenge it. Because it keeps us all in jobs apart from anything else. And that's why some of these people love this cozy pair of slippers way of doing business. Mr. Trump is tearing up the rule book.
Absolutely. One of the greatest accomplishments, in my opinion, that Donald Trump brought to the political establishment and to the political conversation here in America is he essentially put a flashlight on all the corruption. He put a flashlight on the big pharma, the military-industrial complex. All these things are trillion-dollar industries. And that's why the establishment is pushing back so hard on Donald Trump, who is an outsider. Look, Donald Trump wasn't a politician. He was a businessman. He created a unbelievable real estate empire. He carved and sharpened his teeth in New York City real estate. I have always said that one of his greatest renovations was his gut renovation and his gut renovation of the Republican Party. Now, not all the dead wood has been removed. We need to get rid of McConnell, people like Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney, right? But those things are in place right now. Those things are happening. This is the greatest gut renovation that Donald Trump has ever implemented. And I think that you'll see that in this next administration.
It's interesting. We've all got friends on other parts of the political spectrum. Sometimes we don't say it out loud, but, and that's always great when you get together and have a debate, or sometimes those debates are best not had when they're friends. A friend of mine who's a Democrat was saying to me, look, have you not seen some of the late shows in America, Stephen Colbert and the like, who are, they're lampooning this man. We're a laughingstock. And I said, hang on a second. I looked at some of the ratings for those late shows. Since Trump's got in, the ratings are higher because of the satire. That's creating more advertisers. That's creating a better business model. It's a democracy. It's free speech. So straight away, Trump has done... He's inadvertently increased the revenue of these broadcasters because they're getting viewers in. And he doesn't care if they lampoon him or disbelieve him or disagree with him. It's just another consequence of success, right? I mean, there it is.
100%. Yeah. Absolutely. But I think one of the things that I have taken away from this last election cycle, when you do a little self-reflection, and I think both sides of the aisle need to do some self-reflection, but in particular, I think what you saw come out of this election was the average American citizen with a smartphone and a social media account like X or Twitter, or, as Twitter we say, they took down the back of the corporate media. So if you were watching CNN panels, MSNBC panels, you're watching late night television, or you were reading New York Times and Washington Post op-eds, you were completely misled. And you probably woke up the morning of the election and said, what happened? Yeah. I thought this man was a rapist, a sexist, a Nazi. They compared him to Adolf Hitler. And he just won the popular vote by over 5 million. He took the White House, the House, and the Senate. So you need to start to do some serious self-reflection as to where you're getting your information. Because if you're getting your information from CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, you are misinformed. And this election cycle, the informed people won, the misinformed people lost. I think it's really time for some self-reflection.
Yeah. Is there a place for Marjorie Taylor Greene, or is that a step too far?
Look, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene has been an unbelievable asset to this country. I think there's a role for her. We'll see what Donald Trump does. I take his lead on these things. Clearly, he has the pulse of the American people in mind. So we'll see what happens. I think she's an unbelievable asset to this country.
There it is. Listen, Jason, great to have you on, sir. Nice to talk. Jason Meister, former Trump Advisory Board member.